The ship called Harmony's Edge flew through the black space between stars. Captain Zexthara stood in the control room, her crystal body catching the blue light from the computer screens. She was tall and thin, made of living glass that changed colors when she moved. Her people, the Viridians, had been traveling space for thousands of years. "Captain, we are getting close to the third planet," said Clat9, the science officer. He had 8 long arms like a sea creature and spoke through a box that changed his water sounds into words the others could understand. His big round eyes looked at the screens showing the blue and green world ahead. Zexthara looked at the planet on the main screen. It was mostly water, with large brown and green areas of land. White clouds moved across its surface like cotton balls. "It looks peaceful," she said. "What do our sensors tell us?" Clat9 moved his arms across his controls. "The planet has oxygen and water. There are signs of basic life forms. But Captain, I am reading something strange. There are metal objects moving around the planet and signals coming from the surface." "Intelligent life?" Zexthara asked. This was exciting. Finding new smart species was rare and important. "It looks like it," Clat9 said. "But the technology is very simple. Nothing like our ships or weapons. They use chemical fuel and basic radio waves." Other crew members gathered around. There was Pip7, a small robot-like being whose metal body clicked when he walked. His people had replaced their flesh with machines long ago. Next to him stood Whisper, who looked like flowing light in the shape of a person. Her energy body moved like smoke. "Should we contact them?" asked Pip7, his voice sounding like a computer. "The rules say we should not interfere with developing species," Zexthara said. "But we can study them from far away." The ship moved closer to the planet. They had done this many times before. Most young species were not ready to meet aliens. The Galactic Council had learned this lesson the hard way. Some species got scared and fought. Others stopped growing and learning when they found out about advanced aliens. "Captain, look at this," Clat9 said, his voice sounding worried. "The life forms on this planet are much bigger than normal." Zexthara looked at the readings. Her crystal body turned red with surprise. "These numbers cannot be right. Show me again." The science officer checked his equipment. "The readings are correct. Some creatures down there weigh over 1,000 of our weight units. Others are as long as our ship." This was strange. On most planets with smart life, the biggest animals were small. Large creatures used too much food and moved too slowly to survive. Smart species usually came from small, quick animals that worked together. "Maybe the smart ones are different," suggested Whisper, her light body flickering. "They might be smaller than the big creatures." "Let me scan for the source of those signals," Clat9 said. His arms moved quickly over the controls. After a few minutes, he looked up with all 8 eyes wide. "Captain, the smart ones are some of the bigger creatures. They weigh about 80 weight units each." The crew was quiet. In their part of the galaxy, smart creatures were usually very small. Zexthara herself weighed only 30 units. Clat9 weighed 25 units. Most of the crew weighed even less. "Maybe they are different, because their planet is different," Pip7 said. "Look at the gravity readings. It is much stronger here than on our worlds." Zexthara nodded. High-gravity worlds were dangerous. Most species in the Galactic Council came from low-gravity planets where flying and floating were easier than walking. Suddenly, the ship shook hard. Red lights flashed and alarms made loud noises. "What happened?" Zexthara shouted. "Engine failure," called out Z4, the engineer. She was another robot-like being, but bigger than Pip7. "The main power core is overloading. We are losing power. Fast. Can you fix it?" the captain asked. "Not in space." We need to land and rebuild the whole system. The ship shook again, harder this time. The lights went dim, and the gravity system stopped working. Everything not tied down started floating around the control room. We have to land now, Z4 said. If the power core explodes, it will destroy the ship. Zexthara made the hard choice. Take us down to the planet. Find a place away from the smart creatures. Captain, we do not know if it is safe, Clat9 warned. The large life forms could be dangerous. We have no choice, she said. Use the emergency landing system. The ship fell toward the blue and green world. Through the windows, the crew could see huge areas of green that Clat9 said were plants. There were also large areas of water that sparkled in the sunlight of the system's yellow star. Landing spot found, announced the ship's computer. Large plant area with no signs of intelligent activity. Warning, multiple large life forms detected in the area. How large? Zexthara asked, ranging from 50 to 800 weight units. Some are moving toward our landing zone. The crew looked at each other with fear. Creatures that big could easily destroy their ship. On their home worlds, the biggest animals were the size of small tools. The ship crashed through the tall green plants and hit the ground hard. Everyone was thrown around as the ship bounced and slid before finally stopping. Damage report, Zexthara ordered as she picked herself up. The hull is cracked, but holding, Z4 said. But the engine is completely broken. It will take days to fix, maybe longer. What about weapons and shields? Asked Pip7. Shields are working but weak. Weapons are online, but limited power. Clat9 was looking at his sensors. Captain, we have visitors. 3 large life forms are moving toward us. The biggest one weighs about 300 units. On the main screen, they could see the area around their ship. Tall green plants were everywhere, reaching high above their ship. The crew had never seen plants so big. On their worlds, plants were small and grew close to the ground. There, Whisper pointed with her light arm. Movement in the plants. A huge black shape moved between the green stalks. It was covered in dark fur and had 4 thick legs. Its head was large with small eyes and a long nose. When it opened its mouth, they could see big white teeth. Analysis complete, the computer announced. Creature identified as likely carnivore. Jaw strength capable of crushing ship hull. Claw length suggests ability to tear through standard armor. The crew was silent with fear. This was their worst nightmare. They were trapped on a world with giant monsters. Are there more? Zexthara asked. Yes, Captain. Sensors show many large creatures in the area, some even bigger than this one. The black creature walked closer to their ship. It sniffed the air and made low rumbling sounds. To the aliens, it looked like a mountain that could move and bite. Set up the defensive perimeter, Zexthara ordered. Full power to shields. Prepare. Weapons. Captain, Clat9 said quietly. I am also detecting another life form. Smaller than the others, but moving with purpose toward our location. How small? About 80 weight units. It appears to be one of the intelligent species. Zexthara felt her crystal body turn purple with worry. A smart creature was coming toward them, while giant monsters surrounded their ship. This first contact was going very wrong. The crew prepared for the worst, as darkness began to fall over the strange world of large creatures and impossible dangers. The alien crew worked fast to set up their defense system around the crashed ship. Blue energy walls appeared in a circle, making a safe area about 50 steps wide. The energy made a low humming sound that hurt their ears. Captain, Zexthara watched the big black creature through the ship's cameras. It walked around their defense wall, sniffing and making deep growling sounds. The creature's nose was wet and black, and it kept lifting its head to smell the air. "The defensive wall is holding," reported Z4, "but we are using a lot of power. At this rate, the energy will run out in 6 hours." "What about calling for help?" asked Pip-7. Clat9 moved his 8 arms over his controls. "I tried sending a message to the Galactic Council, but something is blocking our signals. The planet's magnetic field is very strong." Whisper floated near the window, her light body flickering with worry. "On my home world, we never had creatures like this. The biggest animal was smaller than my hand." This was true for most of the crew. Zexthara's crystal people came from a world of floating islands where everything was light and peaceful. Clat9's water world had only small fish and sea plants. The robot people had built their own safe cities long ago. "Captain," Clat9 said, looking at his screens, "I am reading more about this creature. It appears to eat both plants and meat, but it prefers meat when it can find it." The crew looked at each other with fear. They were made of crystal, metal, energy, and water. 2. This creature, they might look like strange food. "How strong is it?" Zexthara asked. "Very strong. My computer says it can lift 10 times its own weight. Its teeth can break bones easily. And Captain, there is something else. This creature can run faster than our emergency vehicles." The black creature suddenly stood up on its back legs. It was much taller than they thought, reaching almost to the top of their energy wall. It pushed against the blue barrier with its front paws. The energy sparked and made loud crackling sounds. "Wall holding," reported Z4, "but the creature is testing our defenses." The animal dropped back down and walked around the wall again. It seemed to be looking for weak spots. This worried the aliens, because it showed the creature could think and plan. "Are all the animals on this planet so smart?" asked Pip-7. "Unknown," Clat9 answered. "But this behavior suggests high intelligence for a non-technological species." As the sun went down, more sounds came from the dark forest around them. Howls, roars, and strange calls echoed through the trees. The crew's sensors showed moving shapes everywhere in the darkness. "How many creatures are out there?" Zexthara asked. "At least 20 large ones within detection range," Clat9 said. "And Captain, some of them are much bigger than this black one." The crew was quiet. On their home worlds, seeing one large animal was rare. Here, they were surrounded by giants. "Captain," Whisper said softly, "what if this whole planet is like this? What if everywhere has these huge creatures?" Before Zexthara could answer, their sensors made new alarm sounds. "2 more large creatures approaching," Clat9 announced. "One is very big, weight estimated at 600 units. Through the cameras, they saw something moving between the tall trees. It was brown and covered in thick fur. When it came closer, they could see it had long arms and walked on 2 legs sometimes, 4 legs other times." "Analysis complete," the computer said. "Creature appears to be plant and meat eater. Estimated jaw pressure capable of crushing most known metals." The brown creature looked at their ship and energy wall. It picked up a large rock and threw it at the blue barrier. The rock bounced off, but the energy wall flickered and got weaker. "It is learning," Z4 said with fear in her voice. "The creature understands cause and effect." The third creature that arrived was even more scary. It was long and yellow with black spots. It moved like flowing water, quiet and smooth. Its eyes were bright green and never stopped watching the alien. "Ship, that one is a pure meat eater," Clat9 said, reading his screens. "Built for hunting. Speed estimated at 3 times our maximum running ability." The 3 creatures seemed to talk to each other, with sounds and body movements. The black one growled low. The brown one beat its chest. The yellow one just watched and waited. "They are working together. Zexthara realized. This is not random. They are planning something. The crew had never seen anything like this. On their worlds, large animals were usually alone and slow. These creatures were smart, fast, and working as a team. Captain, Clat9 said suddenly, I am detecting the smaller intelligent life form again. It is moving through the forest toward US, the 80-unit creature? Yes, but Captain, it is moving between the large predators without fear. The big creatures seem to know it is there, but they are not attacking it. This was very strange. How could a small creature survive among these? Giants? Show me, Zexthara ordered. The main screen changed to show the forest around them. At first, they could not see anything. Then a small shape moved between the trees. It walked on two legs and carried objects in its front limbs. It has tools, Pip7 observed. Simple ones, but tools. The small creature moved closer. In the light, from their ship, they could see it better. It had no fur or scales. Its skin was smooth and light-colored. It wore artificial coverings over most of its body. It is one of the intelligent species, Clat9 confirmed. But why is it here? This area is full of predators. The small creature stopped at the edge of the forest and looked at their ship. It seemed to be studying the situation. The three large animals were still near the energy wall, but they had not attacked the small newcomer. Maybe the big ones do not see small creatures as food, suggested Whisper. Or maybe, Z4 said slowly, the small one is not afraid because it has a way to deal with the big ones. This thought scared the crew even more. What kind of small creature could face giants without fear? The intelligent creature took something from its belt. It pointed the object at the three large animals and made sounds. The sounds were not like anything in the aliens' language databases. The brown creature looked at the small one and made its own sounds back. For a moment, the forest was quiet except for the humming of the energy wall. Then the black creature suddenly charged toward the small intelligent being. It is going to be killed, Whisper said, her light body getting brighter. With shock, but the small creature did not run. Instead, it stood still and waited. The crew watched in horror as the 300-unit predator ran straight at the 80-unit intelligent being. This was going to be a massacre. Should we help it? Asked Pip7. With what? Zexthara replied. Our weapons might hit the intelligent creature too. The black predator was almost close enough to grab the small being with its claws. The crew prepared to watch the first death they had seen on this terrible planet. But what happened next would change everything. They thought they knew about life, intelligence, and survival. Jake Murphy had been walking through the forest for 20 minutes when he heard the strange humming sound. He stopped and listened carefully. In his 5 years as a park ranger, he had never heard anything like it. The sound was coming from the direction where he had seen the bright lights earlier. Jake pulled out his radio and tried to call the ranger station, but only static came through the speaker. Something was blocking all radio signals in the area. He moved carefully through the trees, using his flashlight to avoid fallen branches. The humming sound got louder as he walked. Soon he could see a blue glow through the trees ahead. When Jake reached the edge of the clearing, he stopped and stared. A large metal object sat in the middle of the open space. It was not like any airplane or helicopter he had ever seen. The object was smooth and round with no wings or propellers. Blue energy walls surrounded it like a fence. What the hell? Jake whispered to himself. Then he saw the animals. Bruno, the old black bear that lived in this part of the forest, was walking around the blue energy fence. With him were 2 other animals that did not belong here. One looked like a large brown ape, but bigger than any ape Jake had seen in books. The other was a big cat with yellow fur and black spots. Jake knew Bruno well. The bear was usually calm and avoided people. But now Bruno looked agitated and angry. The energy fence was making a high sound that was probably hurting the bears. Sensitive ears. The brown ape-like creature picked up rocks and threw them at the blue wall. The yellow cat paced back and forth like it was hunting. All three animals seemed upset by the strange object in their territory. Jake realized he was looking at something impossible. The metal object was not from Earth. The blue energy walls were not human technology. And somehow, animals from different parts of the world were all here together. He pulled out his radio again and tried to call for help, but the static was even worse now. Whatever was inside that metal object was blocking all communications. Jake was on his own. The situation was getting worse. Bruno was starting to hit the energy wall with his paws. Each time he touched it, blue sparks flew, and the bear got more angry. The other two animals were also getting more aggressive. Jake had to make a choice. He could walk away and let whatever happened happen. Or he could try to help, even though he did not understand what was going on. As he watched, Bruno stood up on his back legs and pushed hard against the energy wall. The blue light flickered and got dimmer. The bear was strong enough to damage whatever was protecting the metal object. It decided it for Jake. If there were people inside that thing, they were in serious danger. He checked his equipment. He had his radio, flashlight, and a can of bear spray. He also had his knife, but that would not help much against three large predators. Jake stepped into the clearing and turned on his brightest flashlight. All three animals turned to look at him. In the bright light, he could see their eyes reflecting back at him. "Hey, Bruno," Jake said in a calm, steady voice. "What are you doing here, old friend?" The bear dropped back down to 4 legs and looked at Jake. Bruno had seen Jake many times before during patrol walks. The bear knew Jake was not a threat, but the other two animals did not know. Jake, the brown ape creature, made loud noises and beat its chest. The yellow cat crouched low and showed its teeth. Jake realized these animals were not acting normally. They seemed confused and scared. The energy from the metal object was probably affecting their behavior. "Easy now," Jake said, keeping his voice low and calm. "Nobody wants to fight here." He started walking slowly toward Bruno. The bear watched him, but did not move away. The other animals stayed near the energy wall, but they were watching Jake too. "Bruno, you need to get away from that thing," Jake said. "It is making sounds that hurt your ears." The bear tilted his head like he was listening. Jake had always believed that Bruno was smarter than most people thought. Bears were actually very intelligent animals. But then something went wrong. The energy wall made a loud crackling sound and bright sparks flew everywhere. The sudden noise and light scared all three animals. The brown ape creature screamed and ran toward the forest. The yellow cat jumped backward and disappeared into the trees. But Bruno did not run. Instead, the loud sound made him angry. The bear turned back to the energy wall and hit it hard with both paws. More sparks flew, and the blue light got much dimmer. Something inside the metal object was breaking. Jake knew he had to act fast. If Bruno broke through the energy wall, he would attack whatever was inside the metal object. The bear was scared and angry, which made him very dangerous. "Bruno!" "No!" Jake shouted. But the bear did not listen. He hit the energy wall again, and this time his paw went through. The blue light flickered and went out completely. Now there was nothing between Bruno and the metal object. The bear started walking toward it, growling deep in his throat. Jake ran forward and put himself between Bruno and the metal object. This was very dangerous, but he could not let the bear hurt whoever was inside. "Bruno, stop," Jake said firmly. "Look at me." The bear stopped and stared at Jake. For a moment, neither of them moved. Jake could hear his own heart beating fast. Then Bruno made a decision. The bear saw Jake as an obstacle between him and the thing that had been making the painful sounds. Bruno charged straight at Jake. Jake had less than 3 seconds to react. A 300-pound black bear was running at him at full speed. Most people would have been killed instantly, but Jake was not most people. He had been a Marine before becoming a park ranger. He had trained in hand-to-hand combat and had faced dangerous situations before. More importantly, he understood how animals moved and fought. As Bruno reached him, Jake did not try to run or dodge. Instead, he stepped forward and to the side. He grabbed the bear's front leg and used Bruno's own speed and weight against him. Bear's momentum carried him past Jake, but Jake held on to the front leg and twisted hard. Bruno crashed to the ground, rolled over, and got back up quickly. Now the bear was facing Jake directly. Bruno was hurt and angry, but also confused. In all his years in the forest, no other animal had ever grabbed him like that. Jake pulled out his can of bear spray, but he did not use it yet. He knew that if he sprayed Bruno now, the bear would become even more angry and aggressive. "Come on, Bruno," Jake said. "You do not really want to do this." But the bear did want to fight. Bruno had been scared by the strange lights and sounds. His territory had been invaded by unknown creatures, and now this familiar human was standing in his way. Bruno charged again, this time more carefully. He kept his head low and his claws ready. Jake waited until the last second, then moved. But this time, Bruno was ready for him. The bear's massive paw caught Jake in the shoulder and sent him flying backward. Jake hit the ground hard and rolled. He could feel pain in his shoulder, where Bruno's claws had cut through his jacket. But he was not seriously hurt. He got back to his feet just as Bruno charged a third time. This time, Jake knew he could not avoid the fight. The bear was too fast and too smart. It was time to show Bruno who was really the alpha predator in this forest. Inside the alien ship, the crew watched their screens in complete shock. The small, intelligent creature was facing the giant predator with nothing but its bare hands. "This is impossible," Clat9 whispered, his 8 arms shaking with fear. The small one weighs 80 units. The predator weighs 300 units. This will be a massacre. Captain Zexthara's crystal body turned bright red with alarm. "Can we help it somehow?" "Our weapons are too weak," Z4 replied. "And if we shoot, we might hit the small creature." "Why is it not running?" asked Pip7. "All intelligent species know to run from larger predators." The crew had no answer for this. In their part of the galaxy, smart creatures survived by being small, fast, and good at hiding. Fighting large predators was not something intelligent beings did. On the screen, they watched as the human creature grabbed the bear's front leg and threw the massive animal to the ground. The aliens' computers could not explain what they had just seen. "Run the physics analysis again," Zexthara ordered. "Already done, Captain." The small creature used leverage and momentum to redirect the predator's attack. But this should not be possible with such a size difference. Whisper floated closer to the screen, her energy body flickering rapidly. "Look at how it moves. It is not afraid. It is calculating." This was true. Jake was not panicking or running around randomly. Every movement looked planned and controlled. When Bruno charged again, Jake moved with perfect timing. "The creature has combat training," Clat9 observed. "But trained by who? And for what purpose?" The aliens watched as Jake dodged Bruno's second attack and got thrown backward by the bear's claws. They expected to see the small creature badly injured or killed, but Jake got back up immediately. There was blood on his jacket, but he was still moving normally. Incredible, Z4 said. It absorbed a direct hit from the predator's claws and is still functional. What kind of species builds its young ones to fight giant predators? Pip7 asked. Before anyone could answer, Bruno charged at Jake for the third time. This time, Jake did not try to dodge. Instead, he ran straight at the bear. It has gone insane, Clat9 said. The small creature is attacking the predator directly. But Jake was not insane. He was using a technique his marine training had taught him. When facing a larger opponent, sometimes the best defense was a strong offense dot. As Bruno ran toward him, Jake suddenly dropped to the ground and rolled under the bear's body. He grabbed Bruno's back legs and pulled hard. Bruno crashed face first into the dirt, his momentum carrying him forward while his legs were pulled backward. The bear rolled over and over before coming to a stop. Impossible, Zexthara breathed. The small creature just brought down a 300-unit predator using technique alone. Jake got back to his feet and faced Bruno again. The bear was hurt and confused, but still dangerous. Bruno shook his head and growled deeply. "Come on, old friend," Jake said. "We both know you do not want to keep doing this." But Bruno was beyond. Reasoning now, the bear's instincts had taken over completely. He saw Jake as a threat that had to be eliminated. Bruno stood up on his back legs, making himself as tall and scary as possible. From this position, he could use his front paws like giant clubs to hit Jake. Jake looked up at the massive bear towering over him. Bruno was 8 feet tall and weighed more than a small car. His claws were 4 inches long and sharp enough, too. Cut through tree bark. The aliens expected to see the small creature finally show fear. Instead, Jake stepped forward and grabbed Bruno's front paws before the bear could swing them down. "What is it doing?" Clat9 gasped. Now, Jake and Bruno were locked together in a test of pure strength. The bear tried to push down with his massive arms while Jake held them up. Their faces were only inches apart. Bruno's hot breath hit Jake's face as the bear tried to bite him. Jake turned his head away and pushed harder against the bear's arms. "The small creature is winning," Whisper said. In amazement, it was true. Even though Bruno was much bigger, Jake was slowly pushing the bear's arms back. Jake's human muscles were dense and efficient in ways the aliens could not understand. Bruno realized he was losing the strength contest. The bear tried a different approach. He suddenly stopped pushing and let his full weight fall forward onto Jake. Jake saw this coming and rolled to the side. Bruno crashed to the ground again, but this time he was ready. The bear immediately rolled over and swiped at Jake with his claws. Jake jumped backward, but not fast enough. Bruno's claws caught his leg and tore through his pants. More blood appeared, but Jake kept moving. "The small creature is injured but still fighting," Z4 observed. "This behavior makes no sense." Jake circled around Bruno, looking for an opening. The bear was breathing hard now. Fighting a human was much more difficult than Bruno had expected. In the wild, most animals would give up after being thrown around twice. But Jake was not giving up, and this confused Bruno. Jake suddenly charged at Bruno again. This time, he aimed for the bear's side instead of his front. Jake hit Bruno with his shoulder. Using all his weight and speed. Bruno was knocked sideways and almost fell over. Before the bear could recover, Jake grabbed Bruno around the neck and held on tight. "It is trying to strangle the predator," Clat9 sighed. But Jake was not trying to strangle Bruno. He was using a wrestling hold that would control the bear's movement without seriously hurting him. Bruno tried to shake Jake off, but Jake held on tight. The bear spun around and around, trying to throw the human off his back. "The small creature has incredible grip strength," Pip7 noted. "It is maintaining its hold despite the predator's attempts to dislodge it." Jake knew he could not hold on forever. Bruno was getting more desperate, and desperate animals were dangerous. Jake had to end this fight quickly. He shifted his grip and found the pressure point on Bruno's neck that he had learned about in his animal training classes. If he pressed correctly, it would make the bear unconscious without permanent damage. Jake pressed hard on the spot. Bruno's movements became slower and less coordinated. The bear was getting dizzy. "The predator is weakening," Zexthara observed. "How is the small creature doing this?" Bruno made one last desperate attempt to throw Jake off. The bear reared up on his back legs and fell backward, trying to crush Jake under his weight. Jake let go and rolled away just before Bruno's back hit the ground. The bear lay there for a moment, breathing heavily. Jake stood up and looked down at Bruno. Both of them were exhausted and bleeding. But Jake was still standing, and Bruno was lying on the ground. "You had enough, old friend?" Jake asked. Bruno looked up at Jake with new respect. In the bear's simple understanding, Jake had proven himself to be the stronger fighter. Bruno slowly got to his feet and backed away. The bear looked at Jake one more time, then turned and walked into the forest. The fight was over. Jake watched Bruno disappear into the trees, then turned toward the alien ship. Only then did he notice the strange metal object and realize that someone might be inside it. "Hello?" Jake called out. "Is anyone in there?" "Are you hurt?" Inside the ship, the alien crew stared at their screens in absolute silence. They had just watched an 80-unit creature defeat a 300-unit predator using nothing but intelligence, technique, and raw determination. "Captain," Clat9 said quietly, "I think we need to completely revise our understanding of what intelligent life can be." Jake wiped the blood from his scratches and looked at the strange metal object in front of him. Now that the fight was over, he could think more clearly about what he was seeing. This was definitely not any kind of aircraft he knew about. The metal was smooth and had no seams or bolts like human machines. Strange symbols were carved into its surface, and some of them were glowing with soft light. The whole thing was about the size of a small house, but shaped like an egg. "Hello?" Jake called out again. "My name is Jake Murphy. I am a park ranger. If there is anyone inside, I want to help." Inside the ship, the alien crew was having a heated discussion. "We cannot make contact," Zexthara said firmly. "The rules are clear. We do not interfere with developing species." "But Captain," Clat9 argued, "this creature just saved our lives. It defeated the predator that was going to destroy our ship. And it showed mercy," added Whisper, her light body flickering with excitement. "After winning the fight, it let the predator leave alive. This behavior is unknown in our databases." Z4 was checking her repair systems. "Captain, our engines are badly damaged. Without help, it will take weeks to fix them. And we do not have weeks of food or power." Pip7's metal body clicked as he moved. "The creature seems friendly. It is offering assistance, not demanding anything from us." Zexthara looked at her crew. They were all scared, tired, and far from home. The rules said they should not contact primitive species, but the rules did not cover situations like this. "What do we know about this creature's species?" she asked. KLAT-9 checked his computers. They appear to be the dominant intelligent life on this planet. They use basic technology like metal tools and chemical energy. But Captain, their physical capabilities are beyond anything we have recorded. "Show me the analysis of the fight," Zexthara ordered. The main screen replayed Jake's battle with Bruno. The computer highlighted different parts of the fight with numbers and explanations. The creature used 17 different combat techniques. The computer reported. It demonstrated advanced understanding of leverage, momentum, anatomy, and pressure points. Its reaction time was 0.3 seconds faster than the theoretical maximum for its body size. What about its strength? Asked Z4. Muscle density 40% higher than expected. Bone strength 60% above normal for a creature of this size. And most importantly, it showed tactical thinking throughout the combat. Whisper floated closer to the screen. Look at its behavior after winning. It checked the predator for injuries before letting it leave. This suggests advanced emotional development. Outside the ship, Jake was getting worried. He could see lights moving inside the metal object, so he knew someone was alive in there. But no one was answering his calls. He walked around the ship, looking for a door or window. The surface was perfectly smooth, except for the glowing symbols. Jake reached out and carefully touched one of the symbols. The symbol grew brighter when he touched it. Jake pressed it like a button, and suddenly a section of the wall began to glow. Inside the ship, alarms started ringing. Captain, the creature, is activating our external systems, Z4 reported. It somehow figured out our touch controls. That is impossible, Cloud9 said. Our technology is thousands of years ahead of theirs. But it is happening, Z4 replied. The creature is using our own systems to try to communicate with us. Jake saw that touching the symbol had caused a reaction. He tried touching other symbols in different patterns. Each one made different lights appear on the ship's surface. The creature is experimenting, Pip7 observed. It is learning our interface through trial and error. In less than 5 minutes, Zexthara added. This level of adaptive intelligence is remarkable. Jake stepped back from the ship and spoke. Loudly, I know you can hear me. I saw your lights change when I touched your ship. I am not going to hurt you. I want to help. The crew looked at each other. The creature had figured out that they were inside and could detect his actions. It was also showing patience and non-aggressive behavior. Captain, Clat9 said, I recommend we make contact. This creature represents something new. Our databases have no record of intelligent species that can physically defeat apex predators. And it clearly has no intention of harming us, Whisper added. It could have damaged our ship when it was experimenting with our controls, but it was very careful. Zexthara made her decision. Open communication systems. Let us talk to this creature. A section of the ship's wall became transparent. Jake could see inside for the first time. His eyes went wide with amazement. 5 completely different types of beings were looking back at him. One looked like it was made of colored glass. Another had 8 arms like a sea creature. A third one appeared to be made of flowing light. The other 2 looked like robots, but they moved like living things. Holy ... double quotes, Jake started to say, then caught himself. You are not from Earth, are you? The glass-like being stepped forward and touched something on the wall. Suddenly, Jake could hear a voice in his head, speaking perfect English. Greetings, creature of Earth. I am Captain Zexthara of the Galactic Council exploration vessel Harmony's Edge. We crashed on your world by accident. Jake blinked several times, trying to process what was happening. You can speak English? Our translation systems analyzed your language from your vocalizations during combat. We can now communicate with you. During combat? Jake asked. You were watching my fight with Bruno? Bruno is the name of the large predator? Zexthara asked. Yes, that was Bruno. He is usually friendly, but your ship was making sounds that hurt his ears. That made him angry and aggressive. The aliens looked at each other with amazement. This creature knew the predator personally and understood its behavior. You were not afraid of Bruno? Asked the 8-armed being. Jake shrugged. Bruno is just an animal. He was scared and confused. I have dealt with angry bears before. You have fought creatures like that before? This time it was the robot-like being asking. Not exactly fought, Jake explained. Usually I just use bear spray or make loud noises to scare them away. But your energy wall was broken, and Bruno was too angry to back down. So you engaged in physical combat as a last resort? Zexthara asked. Yeah, pretty much. I did not want Bruno to hurt you, and I did not want to hurt Bruno unless I had to. The crew was silent for a moment. This creature had risked its life to protect them from a predator, and its main concern was not hurting the predator. We are grateful for your assistance, Zexthara said formally. Our ship is damaged, and we cannot leave your planet until repairs are made. Jake looked at the ship with new understanding. You need help fixing it? We have the knowledge, but our power systems are failing. The repairs will take much longer than our life support can sustain. What kind of help do you need? Jake asked. The aliens looked at each other again. This creature was offering to help them, even though they were completely alien to its world. We need materials to rebuild our power core, Z4 explained. Specifically, we need copper, silicon, and rare earth elements. Jake nodded. I know where to find those things. There is an old mining site about 20 miles from here. And I can call in some favors to get equipment brought up here. You would do this for us? Whisper asked, her light body glowing brighter. Of course, Jake said simply. You are stranded and need help. That is what people do. We help each other. Clat9 checked his computers quickly. Captain, this creature's species appears to have a natural instinct for mutual aid, even toward unknown entities. And they evolved this instinct while living among apex predators, Pip7 added. Zexthara realized they had discovered something incredible. A species that was both physically capable of defeating large predators and socially advanced enough to help strangers. Jake Murphy of Earth, she said formally, would you be willing to serve as our liaison with your species? We would like to establish formal diplomatic relations. Jake laughed. I am just a park ranger. I do not know anything about diplomacy, but I can make some phone calls and get you the help you need. As Jake walked back toward the forest to find a place where his radio would work, the alien crew watched him go. Captain, Clat9 said quietly, I believe we have just made the most important discovery in galactic history. A species of intelligent apex predators who choose to help instead of harm. Whisper agreed. The Galactic Council is going to want to study them immediately, Z4 said. Zexthara nodded. Send the message as soon as communications are restored. Tell them we have found a species that changes everything we thought we knew about the evolution of intelligence. Jake Murphy walked through the forest, still amazed by what had just happened. He had no idea that his simple act of helping some stranded travelers would change the course of galactic history forever.